So it's my fortune to be here, and you please bless me. You're asking for blessings, but actually it's the other way around. I need your blessing. Sound vibration of Srila Prabhupada, it's described in the third canto that the sound vibration of the pure devotee, it sounds like an ordinary sound vibration, but it's because it's mixed with the pollen of the lotus feet of the Lord. It can imbibe bhakti even in the heart of a demon. So that is why I always have Srila Prabhupada's sound vibration, hoping that I can imbibe some bhakti. When Srila Prabhupada, I'm really sorry, when I talk about Prabhupada, I can't help it. When Srila Prabhupada came to Ahmedabad, thousands of people were there, and he couldn't speak because there were so many people. He just had kirtan, and then he spoke something, and then he had another kirtan, and there was prasad. And Prabhuji was translating. But there were so many people that nobody could hear the lecture. And we were thinking, oh, people in Ahmedabad, they're so pious, the Gujaratis. But no one is listening to Srila Prabhupada's words. So now this is up to all of you. Prabhupada said that one devotee was glorifying him. And he said that, Prabhupada, you preached all over the world and you changed millions of people's lives. Lord Chaitanya, he only preached in India. Actually, Prabhupada, you're better than Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya preached only in India, whereas you preached all over the world. Lord Chaitanya saved one Jagai Madai, but you, Srila Prabhupada, you saved millions of Jagai Madais. So you're better than Lord Chaitanya. And what did Prabhupada say? He said, you talk too much. He could never tolerate anybody praising him. He just could not tolerate it. He was so humble. He said, if I have any qualification at all, it is that I did not change anything that I heard from my spiritual master. I didn't change anything. That was my only qualification. But actually, if one can count the stars in the sky, maybe that's possible, but one cannot count the qualities of Srila Prabhupada. He was the moon, the self-effulgent moon that rose up from the ocean of Krishna Prem of Lord Chaitanya. His face was effulgent. When I first saw him, I was telling Prabhuji that I thought he must be from another planet. I was in college and Prabhupada came to the college where I was studying. There was 50,000 students in this college and at least 10,000 came to see Srila Prabhupada. He was floating across the stage. And I thought, wow, this man is not walking, he's floating. And he's so shining. He's wearing this saffron cloth. He must be from some other planet. He must be some ET that's coming from another planet. I couldn't believe that he was from this planet. And all the hippies around me, they were on some psychedelic drugs. They were also completely flabbergasted. And who is this man? Like, floating, like Narada Muni, floating across the stage. And then Prabhupada gave a lecture on kirtan. And the kirtan was something from out of this world. Everybody was standing on their chairs. Nobody was on the floor. Everybody was on their chairs. And there was a sign, Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So we all knew what to sing. Otherwise, none of us knew what the Maha Mantra was. Everybody was screaming the Maha Mantra and jumping on their chairs. This kirtan was so ecstatic, from the other world, completely from the other world. Like Srila Prabhupada, he was from the other world. He was telling once Bhavananda that Krishna came to me in the spiritual world and asked me to come to the material world and print books. And Prabhupada was not very excited about coming, but he came anyway. So when Prabhupada would say things like this, then we realized that he's actually from the spiritual world. One devotee asked Prabhupada, Prabhupada, are there donkeys in the spiritual world? We used to ask the stupidest questions. And you know what Prabhupada said? I don't remember seeing any. So we realized, wow, this is not ordinary. He was there and now he's here. We understood a very small bit that he was from the spiritual world. He's not from this world. He was from the spiritual world. He always knew our minds. At my initiation, I was just praying, Prabhupada, please, I just want a name that has something to do with Radharani. Anything to do with Radharani. And I was just thinking that. And sure enough, he gave me my beads and he said, your name is Radhakund. And at that time, we didn't know what Radhakund was. We were every day, Shamkund, Radhakund, Giri, Govardhan, Jai. We didn't know what it was. We were just saying Jai, but we had no clue what it was. So in Krishna book, it said that Kunda was a flower. So I socha mera naam hai na, Radharani's flower, Devi Dasi. And my friend also, she wanted a name that had something to do with Krishna. And she was next to me, and Krishna, Prabhupada gave the name Krishna Kumari. So Prabhupada was always reading our minds. He had some special power. One devotee was telling me that he was on top of the Lotus building in Mayapur, and Prabhupada was serving his godbrothers prasad. And he was really hungry at that time. So he was on top of the Lotus building, and Srila Prabhupada was in a whole different building. And he was thinking, I'm so hungry, and Prabhupada is distributing prasad. Prabhupada is distributing prasad, I'm really hungry. So he waved to that devotee and called him down. He went down, he sat by all the Prabhupada's godbrothers, and Prabhupada said, you're hungry? Take prasad. So this is the power of the pure devotee. He can read people's minds even in the next building. I had one experience in Bombay, 1974. At that time, there was no cure for malaria, and I had chronic malaria for years. There were so many mosquitoes in Bombay. And Prabhupada was coming to Bombay. Whenever he came, it was like a small family. There was like 10 devotees. And we would go to the airport, we would meet him, we would follow him up to his room, and he would tell us all about his travels. It was so sweet. It was a small family. So this one time I had a fever of 105. And my friend came and she said, wow, let's go, Prabhupada's coming. And I said, I have a high fever, I can't even lift my head. And she said, you have a fever of 105. Prabhupada says, when you get a fever of 105, then you die. I was delirious. I said, okay, I'm going to die now. So you take my daughter. I had a small daughter, 9 months old. I said, you just take my daughter and make sure she goes to Gurukul. I'm going to die now, so you take it. So she took my daughter and went to Prabhupada. And I was lying there and I was thinking, Srila Prabhupada, I'm going to die any minute now, and I really wish that I could come and see you before I die. I really wish that you knew that I was dying. But unfortunately, I can't come to see you. I was really lamenting that one last darshan of Prabhupada before I die, that would be really nice. But just as I was praying to Prabhupada, the one devotee came and said, Mataji, Prabhupada is calling you. And just hearing that Prabhupada was thinking about me, my fever broke. He was like 3 or 4 buildings away. And I jumped up. I felt so much energy, and I started running to Prabhupada's room. And all the devotees were coming down. I said, Prabhupada was calling me? Oh no, he wasn't calling you. He was just asking where you were. He was just, and I told him that you're in your room dying. You can't imagine how ignorant we were. We're like 18, 19 years old. We're like really ignorant fools. I mean, just imagine, I had such a high fever. I was taking so much medicine. The so-called cure for malaria was quinine. And this quinine, it just made me hallucinate. I was seeing millions of gopis with water pots on the walls. It was not a cure for malaria. But by Prabhupada's Shakti, I was cured within minutes. He just, from a whole other building, he cured me. I was complete fever immediately gone. Just because I was praying to him. Such a powerful, merciful Srila Prabhupada. He was in many lectures that I was sitting in. And during the lecture, Prabhupada would start crying. And the devotees didn't know what to do. One time he was speaking that as many waves there are in the ocean, that many times Krishna comes and begs us. He will come himself personally, or he will send his messengers or someone to beg us. Please, why are you rotting in this material world? Why? Why don't you come home? As many waves there are in the ocean, that many times Krishna will come or send someone to come and get us. And then Prabhupada started crying, and he ended the lecture. Just imagine, out of 84 lakh yoni, we are traversing so many lifetimes. Anadi, karma phal. Anadi, since time immemorial, we are taking millions and millions of births. This chakra, how many lifetimes more we would have had Prabhupada not come. Prabhupada took us out of this sansar chakra and put us on the ISKCON boat. I was on a super fast train to Narak. I was already in Narak. People ask me, where are you from? I tell them I'm from Narak. Narak, New York. Narak. So Prabhupada did, what did he do? He picked us out of this sansar chakra and he's put us on the boat back to Godhead. How can we ever repay him? We would have been, and where would we be today without Prabhupada? And where would we be? Just think of it. Where would I be? What would I be doing? How would I be dressed? What would I be eating had Prabhupada not come in our life? We cannot repay him. It's said that if you try to repay him, you'll be a laughing stock. You'll be just like a clown. But if we cannot repay Prabhupada, but we can try to please him. He said many, many times, Distribute books, distribute books, distribute books. Said it many times with tears in his eyes sometimes. He said people are suffering. The suicide rate is not going down. People are suffering like hell. Please go out and distribute books. He said these books are their only hope. We're giving a book to someone and it's Sakshat Prabhupada's Vani, Krishna's Vani. This is their only hope. I got a book and I read it. I read it 50 times. I said, this is it. This is what I'm searching for. So we simply have to get the books in their hands. Prabhupada said if they just touch the book, even they don't take it, if they touch the book, their life will be saved. We didn't know how to sell these books. We just went out and touched the book to everybody. It took us a while to figure out how to distribute books in America because people are so horrible. You know, they would spit on us. You know, Americans, they're cow eaters. Everybody eats cows in America. Cows, pigs, dogs. And McDonald's means dog's meat, cow's meat. Everybody is eating this. And you can see on their face, they're like demons. So try to give them a book. It's pretty miraculous to get them to take a book. So we used to try all kinds of tricks. You know, we're feeding people in Malaysia. We're feeding people in Bangladesh. Give a donation, and then we would give them a book. But Prabhupada told us, no, you convince them on the merit of the book. You should get a donation. So eventually, we found out how to distribute books to the Americans, and we were out 24/7 sometimes. Some of the devotees would go in the night, some devotees would go in the day with Harinam, books, and prasad. We were in Los Angeles, so we used to go to Hollywood Boulevard, where all the tourists are, and that's all night also. So some devotees would go in the night shift, and we would go in the day shift with the kids. I mean, you can't imagine an American looking. When I first saw the devotees, when I was like 10 years old, and I saw that they had drums and cymbals, and I ran up and I said, you're singing God's names? Because this is what Jesus said. Jesus told his disciples, take drums and cymbals and sing God's names. So when I saw them, they have drums and cymbals. This is what Jesus said. And I asked them, you're singing God's names? Yes, we're singing God's names. So I told my mother, I was like 10 years old, Mommy, they're doing what Jesus said. They're singing God's names. Let's go talk to them. And she said, no. She would, I mean, we never saw people like this. I mean, in this color, and it looked like they were wearing bed sheets, you know. We never saw anything. This was something extremely new. Like Prabhupada, what did he do? Hippies with long hair. Long hair was considered beautiful. And he had them shave up and put on dhotis. This is some chamatkar. Who can imagine? If we go to America, we can do this? No. This is only Prabhupada's special Shakti. And first time they put a sari on me, I thought, this is just too much cloth. I took it off at Mangalarti and put it in the corner. It's just too much. But then eventually I got used to it, and now that's all I wear. I don't have any other clothes. I just wear saris. I don't wear any other thing. For the past 50 years, I'm wearing saris. Past 50 years, I'm singing and dancing and chanting God's names. This is the mercy, causeless mercy of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada said that if you really want to please me, you should work together, cooperate together, and push on this movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. he said it many times, but at the very end, he really emphasized this, that if you want to prove your love for me, then you should work together, cooperate together to spread this movement of Mahaprabhu. Because the devotees were always fighting. Always fighting. I remember seeing, I shouldn't mention it, but devotees were always fighting, and Prabhupada always had to settle up the fights. So he was always emphasizing that if you really, really want to show your love for me, you want to prove your love, then you should cooperate together and push on this movement of Mahaprabhu. He's the Samstakacharya. It's a tongue twister. Iskon Samstapakacharya. Krishna Kripa Murti. Abhay Charan Bhaktivedanta Swami. He is the preeminent guru for the next 10,000 years. Anyone who reads his books, just opens his books, takes his shiksha, he is a shiksha guru for everyone, all of us. So this is what he was really emphasizing many times, that please, you want to show your love, then please cooperate and push on this movement together. We have to give up all our upadhis. I'm not a Brahmin, I'm not Indian, I'm not America, I'm not a book distributor. All these upadhis, I'm such an elevated soul. All these upadhis, sarva upadhi vinirmuktam. If we can give up all these upadhis, then we can work together. And push on this movement. I met this one devotee, he said that he was Bhaktisiddhanta in his last life. I said, oh, very nice, very nice. So he's got this upadhi that he is Bhaktisiddhanta. But no problem. All these upadhis, we can give them up. This is the false ego. That I'm American, I'm a big something or other. We can just give them up and work together. Actually, Prabhupada predicted there would be a world war. 1976, there was a morning walk, and he said, these demons, they are building up their weapons, and they must use them. He said they will use them. And all the devotees were getting so panicky and, oh, Prabhupada, World War III. And Prabhupada was very calm. What should we do, Prabhupada? What should we do? And he said, we will chant Hare Krishna. This is the real shelter, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Prabhupada came to reveal this topmost secret. Mahaprabhu came and gave this topmost secret that he didn't even tell his best friend Uddhav. When Uddhav was leaving the planet, when Krishna was leaving the planet, Uddhav was there. And he was soaking Krishna's lotus feet. That, I know you're leaving the planet, so you please take me with you. When Lord Ramachandra left the planet, he took the whole Ayodhya. So you please take me with you. So what did Krishna tell him? His best friend, Uddhav, he said, you go to Bhadragashram and you wear tree bark and you eat berries and roots. Freezing cold, Bhadragashram. This is his best friend. So what is the hope for us? Is there any hope? Arjun also. He didn't take Arjun. He didn't take the Pandavas. He went alone. The Pandavas were devastated. But that same Krishna comes as Mahaprabhu and Nityananda. The same Krishna who is demanding full surrender. That same Krishna comes as Parama Karuna, Paudujana. He doesn't demand any surrender. No surrender. You don't have to surrender anything. The same Krishna who is very strict comes, and he was just here a second ago. 500 years ago is nothing. Just like we still have his Upadesh, we still have his life story. It's still intact. Just like you said, we have Prabhupada's life. Everything is Upadesh. So we also have Mahaprabhu's. We are so fortunate. Lord Chaitanya doesn't come every Kali Yuga. He comes after 1,000 Kali Yugas. It means millions of years. Lord Chaitanya does not come every Kali Yuga. He just came in this Kali Yuga. He comes after 1,000 Kali Yugas. He's just now come. And he was just walking around here. I think he even came to Ahmedabad. Lord Chaitanya came? Yeah, he's right here in your temple. So we are so fortunate. We can't even imagine how fortunate we are. Lord Chaitanya was just here. Srila Prabhupada was just here. And all of you are here. I'm so fortunate to be here with all of you. We are so fortunate, we can't fathom it. We actually owe our every breath to Prabhupada. We owe our every breath. This is something beyond our tiny brains, our great fortune, isn't it? In this very lifetime, you can go back to God. And this is the topmost secret that Lord Chaitanya brought. He didn't tell Uddhava about it. Even Sukadeva Goswami didn't know. It's not in the Bhagavatam. The topmost secret, you know what it is? The Lord Chaitanya revealed. Anybody knows? The topmost secret that Lord Chaitanya revealed and Prabhupada revealed to us is that simply by chanting this Maha Mantra, you will get love for Krishna in the wake of the gopis. Just by chanting this mantra. This is the Maha Mantra. We can't fathom what is this mantra that's been given to us for free. One time I got bitten on by a snake in my leg. We were doing Sankirtan. And we had a really good spot in North Gujarat. We had our bus. And opposite us was a snake charmer. And he was doing his show. So he came to me and he said, you take your bus and go ahead. You're disturbing my snake show. But we were selling so many books. The Gitas were going like hotcakes. The people had, one Mataji, she was announcing in the mic that keep your change ready. If you don't have the proper change, you don't get a Bhagavad Gita. There were so many Gitas going out. 10 rupiah, 10 rupiah, 10 rupiah. It was 13 rupees for Gita. Back in the day, 13 rupees. So he said, you better leave. And I said, okay, we're selling so many books, sir. We really can't leave just now. If you don't leave, you're going to suffer. So I thought, okay, I'll suffer for Mahaprabhu's movement. That night, we went to a whole different, Gam, 30 kilometers away. We stayed in a Goshala, just like a Dharmshala. And that night, I got bit by a snake on my foot. I woke up, I thought I had elephantitis. Huge swollen foot. And the doctor across the street said, you've been bitten by a snake. He showed me the 2 fang holes. So he gave me so much medicine which had no effect. Then the driver of the bus said, there's a tantric here, we'll go and see him. And he did so many mantras and it cured my foot. This is a material mantra for a snake bite. So what to speak of this Maha Mantra? We cannot fathom. We can't imagine it, how it is so powerful. We're chanting every day, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. But we have no clue. Or at least I don't have any clue what it is. I was just telling Mataji, once the war starts, we're going to get more of a clue what this mantra is. Prabhupada said we should chant like a baby crying for his mother. So I'm really hoping, I'm looking forward to it, that when the bombs start falling, I will actually call out to Krishna like a baby crying for his mother. This is what we have to look forward to. Prabhupada said, after the war, the preaching will be very nice. He said, millions of people will be coming running to our farm communities. Millions of people will come to our farm communities. He said, after this war, the preaching will be very nice. So this is what we have to look forward to. I won't live to see it, but all of you will. Very exciting. Any questions or anything you'd like to ask? Acha, acha, acha. Okay. We the initial years of Ahmedabad, we were in Bombay and Prabhupada was there, and Prabhuji was massaging his lotus feet every night. And he kept saying, go to Ahmedabad, go to Ahmedabad, go to Gujarat. But because he had Prabhupada's lotus feet, he didn't want to leave. So finally Prabhupada left Bombay, and we got some money from the temple president, 250 rupees, to go to Gujarat. I said, Prabhuji, 250 rupees. He was the treasurer, Prabhuji. He was very conjuice. I remember one time I lost 40 rupees, and I heard about it for 40 years. And I said, look, 250 rupees is not enough. We were going to open a center. We need some more money. He said, look, Prabhupada had 40 rupees. We have 250. So we got on a train with no ticket. We didn't buy a ticket. We got on a train in the unreserved general bogie with all the chickens and the So when we got to Ahmedabad, we stayed in Dadiapur in a factory go down. That one member said you can stay there for free. And Dadiapur is right in the center of Ahmedabad. You know Dadiapur. So we hired a bicycle every day for 1 rupee for the whole day. Can you imagine 1 rupee for a whole day? I sat on the back and Prabhuji was driving. We had no money, what to do, it was like, but it was the best days of our life. Tapasya, what did Lord Brahma hear? Tapasya, this is the goal. We do tapasya for Lord Chaitanya's movement, and this is the ecstasy. So nobody knew about Hare Krishnas. To make them a life member was a miracle, but Prabhuji was so expert he could sell a chasma to a blind man. He was so determined. Just like I said, we're 1/10,000 the tip of a hair, but we just have to have a desire. He had such a strong desire. And Lord Chaitanya, Prabhupada facilitated everything. It was mind-blasting when you think about it. We would go office to office, and I didn't know any Gujarati, any Hindi. I would just say Hanji, Hanji. Whatever they said in Gujarati, Hanji, Hanji, Hanji. So finally, Prabhuji got me a little girl boy from Mayapur, and he knew English and Hindi. And we got 2 bikes. We got 2 bikes, and Prabhuji went with someone else. We got 4 rupees for 4 bikes. So this boy, he was very clever. He was telling this. We went to one shop. The man only had 1 arm. And the boy told them, if you become our life member, in your next life you'll get 4 arms. So like that, we made life members and we collected and somehow or other got some food to eat. Otherwise, in the beginning of ISKCON, there was not enough food for the devotees. We were always hungry. I would go to my mother's house and make a big bag of Simply Wonderfuls and give it to all the brahmacharinis. We were always hungry. And now you see, ISKCON has so much money. So much money. You know, when you came in, this fancy car, they picked me up in a big fancy car. We never had fancy cars. We had all these junkies, you know. Actually, they took Prabhupada in this junky truck. It didn't even have a seat. They put a folding chair and they were holding the chair so Prabhupada... and, you know, Prabhupada didn't blink an eye. He was going with the flow. For him, he said, this is nothing. I'm a Calcutta boy. He's from the other world, Srila Prabhupada. He was not from this world. He was from the other world. He's the Jagat Guru for the next 10,000 years. He's in your heart. He's in the photo. He's in the murti. He's in your heart. So we pray to Prabhupada and he definitely reciprocates. I've seen it many, many times. One time I was in so much danger and I just screamed out, Prabhupada! And immediately the danger was solved. One time in Bombay, I was cooking the evening offering and Prabhupada was giving Bhagavad Gita class in the temple. And the temple where Prabhupada was sitting was just like 6 or 7 feet from the kitchen. There was the altar, and then behind the altar was the kitchen. And there were so many rats in Bombay. And I was cooking puris, and the rat fell into the ghee. And I screamed, Prabhupada! And Prabhupada stopped his lecture and he sent someone to see if I was okay. The rats were like cats. Because there were so many Holiday Inn, all these hotels, they were so fat. And I remember we were staying in this small room. There was nothing but there was no furniture whatsoever. And the rats were like biting our feet at night. And they were eating our clothes around the floor. They were eating our clothes. So Prabhupada had a Elmira in his room. And I saw it was all rusty and Prabhupada was not using it. So I took it to my room when he was not there. And because it was old and horrible, it was rusty. And you couldn't even close it properly, you know. So when Prabhupada, because we needed something to keep our clothes, so the rats would eat the clothes. So when Prabhupada came back, he asked, where's the Elmira? Can you imagine I stole the Elmira from Prabhupada? When I fell down and I fractured, one astrologer told me, you stole something from a very great personality. That's why you broke your arm. And I remembered, yeah, I stole an Elmira from Prabhupada. I said, this servant asked, Prabhupada wants the Elmira. I said, I think I know where it is. I'll just bring it. He had it painted and cemented into his wall. Can you imagine? You think my disciples are chores. Means Prabhupada did not waste anything. In America, anybody would have just thrown that away. It was all rusty and horrible. Prabhupada had it made just like new, sanded and painted and cemented into the wall. Prabhupada was very, he didn't waste anything. One time I left a night light, 0-watt bulb, all night because my daughter had a fever. And he was in the next building, same opposite, I was right opposite Prabhupada's room. And he blasted me. He said, you left that light on all night. You should not waste Krishna's energy. If you waste Krishna's energy, he will stop giving you. I mean, 0 watt bulb for 5 hours. What is it? 25 paisa something. Not even that. So Prabhupada was very, very frugal. He did not like to even see water dripping from a tap. If he saw water dripping, he would run and turn it off. He saw everything as Krishna's energy, and we should not waste it. It's very painful to see how much waste I've seen in ISKCON now, and Prabhupada would be very upset. We had 2 saris, 2 dhotis. You wash one and you wear one. Bas. Simple living, high thinking. Even I read in the Pujari book, if you wear a cloth that was washed after 2 days, it's contaminated. One of the rules for your cloth that you washed 2 days ago, it's not pure. The cloth that you washed yesterday, you can wear that for puja. So that's the benefit of having 2 dhotis, 2 saris. This Prabhupada, he gave us everything. Everything. He gave us everything. In the Bible, Jesus said to his disciples that there's much, much more for me to tell you, but you'll not understand it. They were just fishermen. They were very simple. So I was always searching, I asked the teacher, what is the much more that Jesus was talking about? And she didn't know. So when I got this magazine, Back to Godhead, I said, this is the much more that Jesus was talking about. This is it. Just like Bhagavad Gita is the primary book, and then PhD is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela and Bhagavatam. So Prabhupada's giving us everything. Everything. We owe him our every breath. Every breath. He's picked us up out of this sansar and taking us back to Godhead, giving us Krishna Prem in the wake of the gopis. I didn't answer your question. Any other question?
Thank you, Mataji, for your enlightening words.
Thank you.
So, I'll share one small incident. Few days back, I gave one Bhagavad Gita to one boy. So, he read it and he shared me something surprising. He shared me that he was given an assignment, and in that assignment, he's supposed to choose a painting of sadhu, a sage. And he chose the painting that says Prabhupada. So he reconnected that few years back. Now after giving Bhagavad Gita, he's sharing me that I was searching. I did not know that name of the sage, but after reading Bhagavad Gita, I came to know that he is a Prabhupada only.
Wow.
So immediately in my mind, the thought ran that Guru Puja we sing every day, Janme Janme Prabhu say. So birth after birth, he carries the soul. So just I want to know more about that. So whether the Prabhupada is caring for the soul birth after birth. So please tell something about this incident.
You're asking somebody very ignorant, Prabhu. I don't know much about Janma Janma, Prabhu say. All I know is that we owe our every breath to Prabhupada. So if we can realize that he's saved us, he has saved us from millions and millions of lifetimes again and again, being born in, as Kuta, Billy, Machar, Maki. Just imagine how Prabhupada has saved us from so many births. He's picked us up out of the narak and put us on the boat back to Godhead. So with that in mind, we can understand that, yes, I offer my whole life to Prabhupada, and many lifetimes. Whatever Prabhupada wants. If you want me to take birth again, no problem. But we want to be in the service of Srila Prabhupada. Just imagine Prabhupada wrote 80 books. in 12 years. I mean, who can do that? If someone writes one book in their life, they're a big achiever. Even one book is, people don't do. Prabhupada said, we went to his room once and he said, he was reading Krishna book and my husband said, Srila Prabhupada, you're reading your own book. And Prabhupada said, oh no, I have not written this book. I could never write anything so nice as this Krishna book. Prabhupada was reading Krishna book every day. Shrutakirti Prabhu was telling us that he was flipping through the Krishna book and Prabhupada said, what are you doing? He said, I'm looking for a good story. And Prabhupada said, Krishna is like a laddu. Wherever you bite, it's sweet. So he told us that I did not write this book. He said Krishna was sitting right here. He was dictating, and I was dictating into the dictaphone. And then sending it for printing. Does anybody dictate a book? Is it possible? You can dictate a book and send it for printing? You write one essay, you write it, rewrite it, rewrite it. Isn't it? Srila Prabhupada was speaking the book into the dictaphone, getting the dictation from Krishna, and sending it for printing. That's how he did 80 books in 12 years. And at the same time traveling all over the world. I mean, who was Srila Prabhupada? We can't fathom, we can't imagine. He was Shamsundar Prabhu, one of the original devotees. He traveled with Prabhupada for 7 months to Russia, Europe, all over India. 7 months he was with Prabhupada. And he said he never saw Prabhupada sleep for 1 minute. In 7 months, he did not sleep. He said one time after traveling all over, they had like 6, 7 preaching programs in Delhi. And they got on a train to Vrindavan, and he was like 20 years old. He was so exhausted, he just went up and slept. But what does Prabhupada do? He turns on the light and starts translating. And he said, when I woke up, his light was off. So I went chup chop. I went down to see if he was sleeping because he never saw him sleep. He went and he looked. And Prabhupada opened his eye. He said, oh, you're trying to see if I'm sleeping? He said, you do not know that your spiritual master is not an ordinary man? We had no clue what was Prabhupada. No clue. Who doesn't sleep? What Prabhupada was doing, it was always chamatkar. You hear Shamsundar's memories on YouTube. Have you heard it? Every 2 minutes he's crying. Every 2 minutes. He said, we saw magic. He said one time they didn't have enough money to pay the rent. And we were going to, in 2 months we didn't pay the rent and we were going to get evicted. So Malati and he were walking to Mangalarti and all of a sudden $100 bills started flying from the sky. $100 bills. He said, this is the magic that we always saw. We needed money and money started flying. He said, we were running and picking up, and Malachi said, what's going on? $100 bills. It must have been some drug addict that was sleeping in with his window open. Or maybe it was Lord Nityananda just throwing the $100 bills. Who knows what was happening? Lord Nityananda could have been doing it. Who knows? Prabhupada. So this kind of magic we saw all the time. Magical things that don't normally happen. All Prabhupada's mercy. I'm sure you must be seeing it here. Just see this beautiful temple that's coming up. This is all Prabhupada's chamatkar. One time we collected $1,108 and we sent this check to Prabhupada. And he sent it to the BBT, and he wrote a letter. When I go to Gujarat to open up centers, I will use this money. He didn't say in the letter that when Jashamati Nandan goes to Gujarat, he will use the money. So what does that mean? Just like in my dream, Prabhupada was distributing all the books. Prabhuji said, look, we thought we were opening all these centers, but here it says right here, Prabhupada says when he opens the centers. So we can understand who's doing what. The 1/10,000th tip of the hair, 1/10,000th tip of the hair, what are we doing? The karta, who is the karta? And I get all puffed up. Oh, I opened all these centers, Prabhuji was saying. I got all puffed up. I did all this for Prabhupada. But actually, Srila Prabhupada was doing it all the whole time. When I go to Gujarat, I will use this. One reporter asked Prabhupada, when you leave, what will happen to, when you die, what will happen to your ISKCON? And Prabhupada said, I will never die. Prabhupada is in all of your hearts. You all love Prabhupada. He's in your heart. He's actually in the murti. He's in the photo. He's in his books. So we're never without Prabhupada. That's for sure.
Mataji, Hare Krishna. Mataji, we are part of congregation family members in this movement. So we face a lot of challenges in practicing KC at home as a Gruvastha. And also a lot of challenges in how to do proper preaching while continuing our regular household duties. So can you guide more on that?
Did you ask about the children? I didn't hear exactly.
So everything, children, a lot of other practices we are not able to follow at home. And then how to preach as a family members, we are not that.
That's the main thing at home. What is home? It can be a andakupam, or it can be a temple. I understand my house is Krishna's temple. So if I'm doing pocha, I'm cleaning the temple of Krishna. Or this is my home, and it's a whole consciousness. Everything I have is Krishna's. If it's Krishna's, then it becomes devotional service. Cleaning the floor becomes bhakti yoga. So the children, the wife, the husband, they're all Krishna's devotees. So we're serving Vaishnava Seva. Otherwise, it can be pretty hellish. The andakupam is very difficult. But with the instructions of Srila Prabhupada, we can make it something very blissful.
Krishna Mataji, Dhanvaj. We have been preaching here in Gujarat for many years now. But to me personally, I feel that preaching in Gujarat, especially to the youngsters, seems very, very difficult as compared to the other centers in India. So would like to be very happy knowing how did you pass on the mercy of Srila Prabhupada to the Gujaratis? How did you succeed in preaching here in Gujarat?
Prabhuji, that's what I told you. I didn't do anything. It's Prabhupada is doing it all. I've noticed that, when I speak with people, I meditate on the Abhishek of Prabhupada's lotus feet floating down their head. And this really, it works for me. I don't know if it'll work for you, but if you give a lecture, you just meditate on the Abhishek of Prabhupada's lotus feet all over everyone's head. And this lotus feet of Prabhupada are magical. And you'll see that he will do everything. Actually, one devotee asked Prabhupada, we're trying to make devotees. How do we do it? He said, you simply tell them to chant Hare Krishna and your business is finished. When I was in the temple, the devotees used to always ask me, okay, how many rounds did you do today? And that really encouraged me to chant more. You see that someone is actually looking up after you. How many rounds you chanted? So then when you see them, how many rounds are you chanting? Are you reading Bhagavad Gita? You showed your concern about them. And you'll see that, nobody's been concerned and loved them as much as you have. People notice this. This pretty lakshanam, you give them prasad, you give them the book, give them your association. This pretty lakshanam is very powerful. That's why Rupa Goswami mentions it. Very powerful. And people are so, they can feel it. They can feel this Charnamrita Prabhupada's lotus feet coming on their head. Prabhupada's lotus feet, they can't be beat. I used to always think, what's the big thing about lotus feet? Lotus feet, it's on every page. Lotus feet, lotus feet. One devotee had a memory. He said, I saw one devotee kissing Prabhupada's lotus feet. He said, this is not what you do. You don't kiss people's feet. But the more I chant, the more I really realize Shri Guru Charana Padma. This is the lotus feet of the spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain pure devotional service. The only way. So we can always keep Prabhupada's lotus feet on our head and put his lotus feet on whoever you're talking to. For me, it really works.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you so much for making us more Prabhupada conscious. I just would like to know that because coming from the foreign lands, Prabhupada was preaching there, and we've also read in a lot of books where Prabhupada tried to give some equal rights to men and women. Like he gave the Gayatri Mantra to Govind Mataji. So how was it your journey to adopt that kind of a culture, Krishna conscious culture? And what advice would you give all devotees how to take up the Krishna conscious culture, which Prabhupada wanted?
For me, it was very easy because Prabhuji was... I learned straight up, as soon as we went to his house, his mother didn't want me to come in their house. Because I was a meat eater and they were Paka Brahmins, and she didn't want me in their house. So I learned really fast. Who am I? I learned it really fast. Prabhupada, he says, Striya Vaishya Sutra. He said, it's not my words, this is Krishna's words. Women, Vaishyas, Sudras. But if you tell this to an American woman, they can't swallow it. So we don't tell them. We just, everybody's equal. And the more they chant Hare Krishna, the more they realize, we're not this body, of course, but according to our past karma, we take birth as a woman or a man. I mean, I don't know about the women here, but please forgive my offense. We're a lower birth, according to Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. Stri, Shudra, Vaishya, this is lower birth, right? But Prabhupada said, when we come to Krishna consciousness, then we get a bigger brain. Actually, the scientists have shown that men's brains are, 32 ounces? And women's brains are like 12 or something. So even the material scientists have proven that women's brains are smaller. And in my experience in my life, if I followed the advice of a woman, like, for example, I was waiting for a train, and I had so many children, and I said, can you just go see if this is our train? And she said, no, it's not our train. And the train went, and it was our train. So that's just one example. So we can understand that our intelligence, if we're honest, our intelligence, we're very emotional. Emotions might control the intelligence, the intellect. Whereas men, like, I'll give you another example. We were in a rickshaw and we were going down a hill, and the driver said, the brake doesn't work. And I was gonna jump out of the rickshaw. But my husband, what did he do? He told the driver to drive into a big pile of garbage that was on the side of the road. Bach gaya. So I thought, wow, he's so intelligent. I was not looking around for some other solution. He immediately saw this big garbage pile and told the driver, drive into that garbage pile. And we were very safely stopped. Otherwise, we were finished. We would have been dead. We were going down a hill very fast, and there were so many cars ahead of us, we wouldn't be able to stop. We would have run into all those cars. And it turned out that actually the brake did work, but he was pressing the clutch. So some men are stupid. Please forgive all my offenses. We can't just generalize that men are intelligent, women are stupid. I mean, there's always exceptions. Like, we can't say that all Americans are, happy and, we can't generalize, right? Many women in our movement are so awesome, very wonderful, like all of you. TK, any other?
Hare Krishna Mataji. We have seen that during Prabhupada times, and Prabhupada had went to many people across the world, and he had been extremely compassionate. And when we go and meet people for the purpose of preaching, we have seen that we discriminate. We choose. We think, okay, this man is more influential, then we should go to this person and preach him, and then probably because we have read it in Bhagavad Gita that yad yad acharati shreshtas, that means whatever a great man does. So sometimes what we try to do is we try to reach out a person who is more responsible or is more in power, and we leave out others. That's what sometimes we do.
You leave your brother?
Uh-huh.
What did you say last time?
Sometimes we leave out others.
Leave out others.
Leave out others. And what do you say about it? Like, what should we do? Like, we should go out to the responsible men, or we should care about everyone? That's what.
In my experience of preaching past 50 years, I've seen that you really can't judge. We can't judge who is who. But I've seen when I'm distributing books, I just give every person. When they're coming out of the temple, we give every single person, because we don't know who is who. Every person, we have them wait in line. They come out of the ISKCON Vrindavan temple, and someone keeps them in line, and we give them charnamrit, a lucky flower. Bhagwan ka charan ki phul hai, a lucky flower. Charnamrit, lucky flower, prasad, and then a book. And everybody takes. Everyone. One Mataji, she's putting everybody in line, and she says, keep your 10 rupees ready. This doesn't work in Ahmedabad, I'm sure. But the people there, it's Vrindavan Dham, the atmosphere is so special. And then we have, after they get a book, then we have some 3-4 Matajis there to explain what is the books and give the japamalas and teach them how to chant. So we don't leave out anybody, everyone. You get charnamrit, you get a lucky flower, you get prasad, and then you touch the book, even if you don't take it. Prabhupada said, even they don't take it, it goes on your account. He went like this. It goes on your account that you tried. They didn't buy the book, but it goes on your account. You tried to give this suffering soul a book. So eventually your account adds up. You might not distribute any books, but you got a lot of credits in your account. Actually, when Prabhupada was telling, one devotee asked Prabhupada, when we distribute books, we feel so happy. We feel so happy when we distribute these books. Why we get so happy? Prabhupada said, when you distribute these books, Lord Chaitanya comes and gives you a hug. Kuch baki hai? You get a hug from Mahaprabhu, you got everything. You know, after book distribution, sometimes I feel like dancing home. You just get so happy. But if I dance home, people might lock me up, you know. There was actually one devotee, his name was, I forget his name, but he was a book distributor who had distributed many years. Then he got cancer and he went to Mayapur. And one devotee was taking care of him. And he said, Prabhupada said, if you distribute books, Lord Chaitanya will come at the time of death and take you back to Godhead. And he was saying, Prabhupada said this, so I'm going to see. I'm going to see if Lord Chaitanya comes and takes this devotee back to Godhead. And he looked it up online. He said, Prabhupada said it actually 3-4 times. He said the same thing. If you distribute these books, Lord Chaitanya will come at the time of death and take you back to Godhead. So a few months went by. He was, you know, just like a dead body lying there. He wasn't eating. He wasn't talking. The doctor said he's got a few hours left. So he went to the Mangalarti. Oh, he wanted to go to Giriraj for Darshan in Vrindavan, but it was too much trouble to take this. So they got him a Giriraj Shila, and they kept it on his heart, Govardhan Shila. And it came time for him to leave the body, and he went to Mangalarti. He said, this is the last hour of Nirguna was his name, Nirguna. And please everyone come for the last kirtan. And he thought maybe 10 devotees would come. He said 100 devotees came. And Kurma Prabhu was leading the kirtan. He said he never saw a kirtan like this in his entire life. Everyone was crying. That devotee was crying. And before he was not talking, he was singing. He sat up, he said, he's telling me to take the Shila and go. He's telling me, take the Shila and go. And they're asking, who's telling? Gauranga. And after that, they couldn't find the Shila. It was gone with that devotee. And that devotee was lamenting. He said, I'm such a demon. I was doubting Prabhupada's words. I was thinking maybe he's not saying the truth. He said, but Prabhupada doesn't lie. He's not a cheater. Whatever he says is the absolute truth. He said, this book distributor, Gauranga, came and took him back to Godhead, along with that Sheila. He said, Prabhupada is not a cheater. He's not a liar. Whatever he says is right. Absolutely, perfectly correct. But I was doubting Prabhupada. He was crying when he was telling us. I was doubting Srila Prabhupada. And these kind of things increase our faith in the process. I mean, you can see a demon like me is chanting Hare Krishna. This can increase our faith. The demons can chant Hare Krishna. So whoever's coming to you, even demons, you can try. Of course, we don't preach to the faithless, but some people, they might be demons. They'll take a book. I was talking to this one girl just a few days ago. She says, this is old-fashioned. Why are you doing this? And she was so atheistic. She says, there's no God. Why are you believing in something that's not there? So she bought a book. We were giving prasad and a book. And she took the book. But she was an atheist. And she was very, inimical. But she got the book. And Prabhupada said, even they touch the book, their life will be success. So we don't discriminate. Anybody that comes near us, we give them a book. They take it or they don't take it. It goes on your account that you tried. In America, devotees go out the whole day and they distribute like 4 or 5 books. They're so determined and so sincere. I mean, I could not do that. In India, it's so much easier. We distribute so many books every day, and it's so enlivening. In America, the people are so rude. You know, Indians are so polite. Even they don't want the book. They say, "I'm just coming 1 minute. I'm just coming." They don't want it, but they're very polite. They don't say, "Get out of my face," Very polite and very cordial. This is India. This is the land of Dharma. You've all taken birth here. You've all taken, after बड़ी झंझट से मिल गया मनुष्य जन्म भारत में. So much tapasya you did to get this birth as a human in India. Just imagine. हम राक्षस लोग हैं ना नरक से आया. And Prabhupada picked us up out of Narak and put us in India. This is unbelievable mercy.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Hare Krishna Mataji. For a basic, I still cannot fathom the way you mentioned that during the initial days, the food, clothing, and shelter, everything, the supplies are very limited. The food, clothing. So I cannot fathom that how an American lady and she has to suddenly the whole change is there in the environment, the country, everything. So I just want to know how did you manage, especially the struggling days in Ahmedabad and Mumbai. As you said that no furniture whatsoever, because we are all, so to say, born with silver spoons here in Ahmedabad. So,
But this was all Prabhupada. All Prabhupada. We could tolerate it because of Prabhupada. We could do anything because of Prabhupada. If he told us, he would tell one devotee, "You get a printing press and print these magazines." He doesn't know anything about printing. Just a teenager. And he's printing a Bhagavad back to Godhead. I mean, how is it possible? It's only because of Prabhupada. Prabhupada empowered us. He empowered all of us to, do what we did. Otherwise, we were just, teenagers. We couldn't have done anything. I see my own kids, and they, what we did, it was only because of Prabhupada empowering the whole movement. Whole movement. In Germany, he went to Russia, he met one Russian boy, and he taught him everything. Just by him putting his 2 lotus feet on the Russian soil, the whole communist regime collapsed. This is the power of Prabhupada's lotus feet. He went to Germany, went to Berlin. In Berlin, there was a iron curtain. Half of Berlin was communist, half was not. Prabhupada put his 2 lotus feet in Berlin. The whole communist party collapsed. This is the power of Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet. So you always keep these feet on your head, and you'll never lose. You'll never be a loser. When one Russian devotee, you'll see it on YouTube. His father was in the Russian Navy. His father and there were like 100 ships surrounding USA, and they were going to attack America. 1966 in August. 1966 August means when Prabhupada went to America. He said his father was shocked. They got the message, all of you come back to Russia. All of you, all these ships that were surrounding America, there was supposed to be World War III, they got the message, go back to Russia. And his father was like, what? We're sitting out here for so many days? They all left and went back to Russia. Just by Prabhupada's lotus feet on the Boston soil. Just It's mind blasting if you think about it. Just think about it. How 100 ships from Russia have to turn around and go back because Prabhupada has arrived. We can't imagine it.
Hare Krishna Mataji. So just like you told that while preaching in Ahmedabad, you have to suffer with 105 degrees of fever, and also a snake has bitten you. So there are a lot of sufferings in this material world. Just like Krishna says, Dukhalaya Mashasvatam. So in your opinion, what should we as a disciple of Prabhupada should desire? Either to stay in this material world and to preach the glories of Krishna and Prabhupada's teachings, or should we just desire to go back home, back to Godhead?
This same question one devotee asked Srila Prabhupada. And you know what he said? Does anybody know? Same question, exactly. Prabhupada said, you just go back to Godhead. Same exact question which you just asked. You know, when another reporter asked Prabhupada, when you are managing your ISKCON, how do you get how do you understand what God wants you to do? And Rameshwar gave an answer that, you know, we read these Vedic literatures and we find out what God wants. And Prabhupada stopped him and he said, no, God is personally telling me what to do. Prabhupada was seeing Krishna 24/7. That's why there were always tears in his eyes. He was always seeing Krishna. I mean, who sees Krishna 24/7? So we're all so fortunate. We have Srila Prabhupada in our hearts. We have no idea who is Prabhupada, what he did, how he did it. We have no clue. But we can get a glimpse. We read Lilamrit, Prabhupada's Lilamrit. We can understand all the magic that Prabhupada did. How he saved demons, the lives of demons. Ajib. Boliye. You want to ask a question? No?
Mataji, like the disciples, like at that time, they were very much enthusiastic, determined. They were more enthusiastic and determined, and they'll follow anything and everything whatever Prabhupada will say. So how we can follow their footsteps? Can you please guide?
You're following. I'm sure everyone is following. One thing that's very important is we have to read Srila Prabhupada's books. He actually said we should read 2 hours every day. But there's so many other books out there, and it seems like people are not reading Srila Prabhupada's books. But if we read his books, this is direct association with Srila Prabhupada. When Nectar Devotion came out, Prabhupada said, I want you to read this every day. He said, reading this book is direct association with Rupa Goswami. And if you follow the instructions of Rupa Goswami, you're serving his lotus feet. So we read Prabhupada's books, we're associating directly with Srila Prabhupada. I mean, just imagine if you could be in the same room with Rupa Goswami, with Srila Prabhupada. This is what happens when we open the book. Prabhupada is right there. This is what is happening. Direct Prabhupada's Vani, Amrit Vani. These books are not from this material world. They're straight from Krishna. Just try to sochna jaiye. We can't fathom it. These books are spoken by Krishna to Prabhupada. You know, they're not from this world. They're not ordinary books. They're totally transcendental books. So if we have that understanding, then we will read them with great faith and great enthusiasm that these books are from Krishna. Isn't it? We are so fortunate. We can't even. We can't imagine it. Can't imagine it. Prabhupada is there for us. Direct line, like not. Can't put it into words. Anything else?
Hare Krishna. So we thank Her Grace Radhakund Mataji for giving us such a wonderful association, and in such simple and powerful words, she has revealed Prabhupada's intimate association with us. How at every step Prabhupada is personally guiding each and every individual disciple, every devotee, and how Prabhupada's mercy is there that is keeping us in Krishna consciousness alive, active. So we heartfully thank Mataji for having come here, and we invite her whenever she is in Ahmedabad again. Mataji, you are welcome, and please most welcome to visit our temple and give us her kind association. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai Prabhupada.